to our roundtable. Today we are going to be discussing cultural programming and what that means and just the general broad sense. Um, just with every little thing, like it can be how, when you're a kid, um, your mom might say, oh, like boys at school are going to be mean to you if they have a crush on you, or, how a lot of music, specifically rap music, kind of degrades women. And all of that leads to a cultural shift in the mindset and kind of objectifying people, or disrespecting people and having that be normalized. And that does tie in directly to human trafficking because it's literally the objectification of a person. So that's what we are going to be getting into today.
Right.
Right on. Important topic.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
think
it's
any
a
of us could jump in on this one because we see it everywhere. We are told there are certain words we can use and certain words we can't use to describe things. And if you can't call harm to a child, whatever it really is, online, there's a problem there. There's a manipulation there, an attempt to normalize child harm. And it's so obvious now. People that make videos that try to reveal the truth and see how our children are vulnerable, they'll all say, "Well, I can't say it, and I've got to word it different ways so I don't get banned or shadow banned or deplatformed." It's like, man, what kind of environment have we been been sucked into where we can't even call things whatever they really are, whether that's good, bad, or indifferent? And if you can't describe things with accurate and honest language, that's a sign that you're being very heavily conditioned culturally.
I I think our whole society is being conditioned though. It's not even just in this area. How many parents are like, "Well, I don't want to hurt my child's feelings," or people talking to each other, "Oh, well, you hurt my child's feelings," and they're going down to the school or they're at home and they're fighting for that and you're like, "Wait, like this is all based upon your child's feelings instead of like teaching them to be mentally tough and they're going to have to do life without you at one point and life is going to get hard. Who's going to protect them then?" And when we do that, it's no different than I have a lot of parents that give me grief about calling my child's parts what they are. No, it's a penis and a vagina. Like if if a predator is like, "Oh, like this is the fun place." Like if you're calling it something else and you're not saying, "No, it's not okay in this area," and you're not telling your child that, how do they know that? If you're giving it a softer word, when somebody does that softer thing to them, that's how they're going to perceive it. So we're really setting a society up for that in everything we do. Oh, like you're not nice or you're a witch or great, you don't have to like me. Teach your kid to be okay with that. Like start with the generation that's coming up and their soft feelings. I like to tell people I'm not raising snowflakes.
Right. Yeah, not when it comes to stuff like that. Exactly. I mean, I think it I'm such a history buff. I love when I have nothing else to do and I have free time. I enjoy watching history, just the period pieces, shows on and this is not it's nonfiction, right? These are things that really happened. And if you look at society and how certain cultures, when they looked into genocide, right, they start dehumanizing that culture that they don't like years before anything happens, right? Let's dehumanize them. Let's use a different term for it. Before you know it, somebody is vermin or somebody isn't worthy to breathe. Somebody, look what happened to the Japanese, American Japanese during World War II. Those people, they were farmers. They were born and raised here. They had to go live in concentration camps. They were Americans. I mean, I'm just pulling one example out, right? But, but it's a proven method. It's proven. And those who do it know that. So when we use softer words, pretty soon it becomes soft. Just like you said, oh, well, it doesn't mean that anymore. Just like they're trying to do the minor attracted children. No, you're still a pedophile and a pervert and a pig. You want to use some other word, but it's up to people like us to keep it real, right? No, no, no,
Yeah.
no. Back in the lane of what it really is. And so I think being part of the solution with stopping anyone mid-sentence that is trying to verbalize and use a word that is a word that they're choosing to make themselves feel better for a terrible thing that they're about to do or say to another human being. So,
Perfect example, MAP. You said it. Minor attracted person.
yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter if the predator feels an attraction to a child when that adult engages and sexualizes that child. It's traumatizing. So it's spinning it and putting a pleasant name on a perversion that's harmful and destructive. And I agree, we must not accept that softer language because it brings about softer protections for the little ones, and they deserve firm protections, just like a mama bear that'll claw your face off if you try to get her cubs out of her den, right? That's how it's supposed to be. And it's just interesting to see the constant pushing and the bullying of mothers and fathers to soften our defenses so the predators can get at our children. It's not
Yeah, and
okay.
that leads into that guy, well, if you can call him a guy, he's more like an evil demon. Alfred Kinsey, who literally, and Judith Reisman, may she rest in peace, lovely woman, a hero for the children. She was absolutely exposing this guy when nobody else would. And it's crazy because when you Google him, that's not even the stuff that comes up. It's, oh, he was a researcher. It's like, no, he was a freaking sick person who was a monster and who was literally torturing children. And literally, and Judith Reisman told me this, she said, there used to be a mandatory life sentence or death penalty if you were caught harming children. I think it was any form of sexual, I think, right? Like for any rape or anything, like it was a life sentence or death penalty. And because of him, it changed because he started torturing children and doing horrible experiments on like thousands of kids or something, at least hundreds, like so many. And he was putting out all of these false, horrible things. Oh, well, they enjoy it because this, and this. And literally, after him, the laws got changed. So it's just so disturbing, and it's so disturbing that people don't talk about him, and that's not like a widely known thing about him. When you look him up, it's just very disturbing, and it's stuff like that like literally changes things and changes laws, and that, I mean, it can be a good thing to know that we can change it back because it is capable of changing, but why is it taken so long to change it back? Why did it change in the first place? Why did they take this crazy guy's falsified data and use that to allow people to cause harm? I'm really not sure. Obviously, the corruption in the court systems and stuff. But if it just takes one person to change it, it should be able to take one person to go ahead and change that back. And that's what I think we should all try to do. We always talk about voting and everything like that because it's just like the smallest, just one person can completely change something culturally.
That's
Well,
true.
it's true. Look at Judith Reisman. So unfortunately, we lost her from COVID, but she told us, and she'd tell anybody, she spent the last, 50 years of her life, something like that. I could be wrong, but the last part of her life, almost the majority of her life, she spent trying to undo the laws that Kinsey put into effect. That's one woman spent almost her entire life trying to undo the damage that man did because his sick statistics, there are books written on it and it's taught in college. Human
Yeah.
sexuality was written by pervert Alfred Kinsey and was the basis for what they taught our college kids on what was normal sex.
It's
Think
still
about
that
that.
way. It's still that way.
Yeah, it's
The
his.
Kinsey Institute is
Yeah,
still the recipient of multi-million dollar grants and donations. It's an abomination. It's a house of feces. It's a temple of filth. And and if anybody that's not familiar with Dr. Judith Reisman, or even our documentary Contraland, she exposed how this monster brought prisoners to harm children, and whenever the children would go into convulsions, whenever they would pass out, whenever they would scream, he was marking it down as orgasm because that's what he wanted it to be. And Dr. Judith Reisman, rest her soul, the last report that she published was that the CIA was funding Alfred Kinsey. Now, if you're in the intelligence community and you love your country, on what planet does it make any sense for you to fund a sexual predator to normalize the idea of raping and deeply traumatizing a child so that millions of people begin doing it because they're trained and educated that it's somehow okay? I don't understand that. I think there needs to be a deep investigation and heads need to roll. I think there need to be some prosecutions over the atrocities committed because of Alfred Kinsey and the CIA's involvement in that. But folks, this is just one aspect of how our culture got sick. We're talking about the systematic programming. Alfred Kinsey, one man, poisoning our culture to make it seem like harm is okay. Why? Because he reworded things. He reworded it. And God bless her, Dr. Judith Reisman was a champion for children, and she dogged him. She
yes,
fought and exposed him. We're not to befriend and entertain evil. We're to expose it. We're to shine the light on it. Sunlight's the best antiseptic for corruption. And bless her heart, that's what she was doing. I think it's a fantastic example and role model for what each of us can do if we just decide to.
yeah,
I
yeah.
want to know, when did it become okay with society and the fact that, number one, it's not really out there, like not a bunch of people know. Like I didn't know before I heard you guys talk about it, and Aspen was exactly right. Like looking him up, you don't find that specific information. So then I had to go dig for it, and then I'm reading it. Like infants, and he's talking about orgasms with infants. Please explain to me when the rape of children and those statistics became science. Like, where is the rest of the world in being like, no, that's rape. That's not science. They're not the same thing. Like, that's what really needs to, people need to wake up and be like, no, you were raping an infant. Like, if that was your child and they were abusing, let's not put abuse, let's say raping your brand new baby you just brought home. Tell me how you feel now. Do you really see that as science, or do you think that this isn't okay? And if so, why is nobody saying anything or doing anything? And why have, I mean, if I had my personal choice, I'd put all of these pedophiles on an island and let them sort it out themselves. One you can't swim away from, figure it out. You
Right,
now have to like grow your own food and do everything else, and you don't survive. That's not my problem.
One of
You
the
ruined others' lives. Let's see how you do with the rest of yours.
yep,
it should be upsetting to us because the damage warrants being that upset. And one of the statistics involved a child being raped around the clock for 24 hours because they were claiming that an infant could have all these orgasms in a 24-hour period. So they were doing it to this child constantly. I can't imagine the people doing that to a baby.
well, and
And
where
how
did he
anyone
get the
else,
babies? I don't remember where he got these kids from. So some
orphans and
parent
yeah,
had
yeah.
to give you their baby, or you probably went. See, I'm speaking. I'm ignorant because I can't remember where he got these children from. But you're right. So if they were from an orphanage, because can you imagine being a sane parent and giving this man your child to conduct sexual experiments on? What on earth?
Or any study. Even
What
if
on
you,
earth?
even the parents that claimed that they didn't know what was going on, why did you not make yourself informed? Why were you not in there? I don't even let my kids have a procedure done without being like all over it and being like, no, I'm going to stand in the room. Like, sorry. And that was even before something happened to my children. Why would these parents put their kids in a study that they had no idea what was going on?
Yeah.
Irresponsible.
So his studies were falsified. The results were falsified, yet it remains in our educational system, in our institutions, in our colleges. Alfred Kinsey is still considered the father of the sexual revolution. It's all lies. Again, it's a temple of, I won't say the word I'm thinking. A buddy of mine that called it that. It's a temple of feces, is what it is, and we should all revolt and denounce and rebuke the Kinsey Institute and all of the falsified information that's poisoned our educational institutions because of it. And we should replace it with real science
Right.
and truth that's healthy and good.
Yeah, you'll tell my kids that Pluto's not a planet and it's a star, but we'll keep this in the education system. Please explain. I'm all, what?
Is that the new thing now?
Yeah, they came home and they were all, when did Pluto become a star, Mom? I thought that's not how the song goes. I was all, that's not how the song goes. And I have no idea when that happened because I was taught it's a planet. So,
And speaking of stars, or sorry, speaking of songs, it's music is also something that really kind of pushes, the objectification of, women specifically. And it's really interesting to see. And, I grew up like I still listen to a lot of rap music, but it's just crazy to see. And it has gotten better, I feel like, but um, just stuff like that. Like you're listening to a song and you're like, wait a second, that's crazy. Like, why would someone say that? And then it does lead to real life effects because in turn, people are going to listen to that and be like, okay, well, this is how we treat women. Women are just, property or whatever. And then they go out and then they, say the line from the rap song they heard. And, especially teenagers whose minds are still developing and they don't understand the real world yet or how anything works. Teenage boys are going to take that stuff and run with it. And they do. We see the effects of, for example, Andrew Tate, who has done irreparable damage to women. I mean, he just got caught on a bunch of trafficking charges in Romania, which is no surprise to anybody who's even listened to him for 5 minutes. But there are teenage boys in middle schools who are saying horrific, disgusting things about women because they heard it from him. And his fan base is massive, and it's just mind-blowing to think that he has so many supporters. And the people who are going to be listening to this, I know that there's going to be people who support him. He has a huge following, and a lot of people don't understand that the things that he says are wrong, and that is exactly the problem. He says things like women are property, women are objects, we shouldn't be able to vote, we shouldn't be able to have a job, stuff like that. So when you hear that, of course, it's going to be easier for people to be like, oh, okay, well, it's fine. If my friend's a pimp and he's doing this and this girl kind of doesn't look like she wants to be there, oh, it's fine, though, because she doesn't have feelings. So it really is such a thing when you're hearing stuff that it's going to kind of affect the way that you see people. And it's going to cause you to maybe, if you see a woman on the side of the road who looks like she's in trouble, kind of maybe if you would have stopped and said something before, oh, well, I heard that, they don't really have feelings, so I'm just going to keep driving. That is so crazy.
Yeah. And I don't want to keep dragging the CIA into it, but I'll call balls and strikes where I see them. A friend of mine was in the CIA for many, many years, was in meetings where it was agreed upon, it was decided that rap music would replace rock and roll at the top of the charts. That was done by the CIA. And they manipulated the music industry and they took artists, if you want to call them that, they're just operatives, people that they pay to do a thing. and they would give them the narrative. You're going to promote this, and basically you're going to objectify violence against your own women, and you're going to demoralize your populace, and you're going to write about these violent things, sexual abuse, and all that. And that's, that's the basis of a lot of rap music, and that was published and pushed and amplified and multiplied and really pushed upon the culture. And so you could see, man, the massive spike and arrests of the black youth and everything from that. And there's several programs that have been leveled against that community. Just heartbreaking. It's hostile as it can be. But the rap music is one. And I really resent the manipulation and then that programming. And I think people need to recognize, you shouldn't be singing about and celebrating abusing your own people. You just shouldn't. It's bad. I think we should all recognize that and reject that kind of harmful content. I mean, when I was young, the AC/DC song "Whole Lotta Rosie," that just sounded like a fun song. It was a song about a fat hooker. And it was, I don't know if it was a real woman somewhere, but they were singing about it, and I didn't think of it as objectifying or abusive necessarily, but you could sense, okay, that's probably not, something, a song you'd hear sung in church, but it's gotten so much worse now, so much more deliberate, and some of the rap music with the lyrics and other platforms as well, just the violence and the lack of respect is cultural poison. And I think if we recognize that, we can inspire our youth to embrace something stronger and something better and more healthy for everybody. Have fun with your music, but why does it have to be abusive?
Well,
Right.
let's be honest, it's not even just the music. Like, let's talk about 50 Shades of Grey. Let's talk about what that normalized. Like, do you
Wow.
know how much that
True.
violence went up in prostitutes and how many of those women are being controlled by pimps and how normalized that is? And when they go out, like, of course, these women have watched it, men too, but women have watched it, and this is what it's supposed to be like. This is normal. This is okay. Like, that's not even. Or let's talk about Twilight even. Not movies I let my kids watch. And it's not because there's vampires. It's not because there's killing. Like, we watch war movies, we watch that kind of stuff, but you just know, like that lovemaking scene alone, because I will parent review everything. Because if I'm not going to let my kids watch it, what am I doing leading if I'm watching it? Like, I want to lead from the front and I want to be the example. And if I'm like, no, this isn't how you treat women, this isn't okay, this isn't what love looks like we're putting that out. And for all these girls that love Twilight, I know so many moms that unfortunately allowed their kids to watch the 50 Shades of Grey series. Like, what did you now just teach your daughter? This is what that looks like. Like, you just put a seed of normalization in her mind that she will carry forever. Like, and you're not having the conversation about it. Like, I know this is an older song, so I'm older than this, but that song Laffy Taffy. I'm sorry, I am not a piece of Laffy Taffy. I am not candy. I am not a honky tonk doctor. I am not any of that. I am a woman. And if you can't have that kind of respect, don't even look this way or you can turn your face because I don't care. And teaching your children that. Have a real discussion. When you're at dinner, have a discussion. Hey, if this happened, what would you do? And let them talk about it with each other because that's how they're going to learn even more. This stuff that you see on TV, if there's a commercial that comes on, pause the TV. Mute the TV, have a conversation why that's not okay. Like, not
Agreed.
just your movies. It's everything that's coming at them. Everything.
Yeah, I remember 50 Shades of Grey came out. I was pretty young. I think I was like 13. And I feel like growing up, becoming a teenager, like after that, I had a lot of friends who were like, oh, yeah, well, my man likes to slap me around and, it's fine because it's like, it's like a thing. And I'm like, that kind of is like not good. Like that's kind of bad. And I do feel like it absolutely had effect. Like, oh, this is so interesting and cool. And Like, no, that's not okay, and it should not be normalized, and the fact that so many people do it is just very scary. That's not normal, it's not right. Yeah, just that, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't even think about that. That definitely, especially for my age bracket, like just I wasn't, old enough to see like a shift from before and after as far as that realm of things. But I definitely noticed that it was as I was growing up, and like, people would talk about all kinds of stuff with that, and I'm like, that's not right.
There's no love in violence. There should
No.
never be any violence or abuse
It's not
in
healthy.
love. It's just it's a distortion and a perversion that is leads to only bad. You know, leads to
And I
only
know
bad
that there
things.
are people that are going to try to argue with that, but if you go statistically, like actually look into pedophiles, like actually start studying them and look at the studies that have been with them, some people that didn't start out with an attraction to children or a curiosity started in porn and it just went down deeper. Violence
Sure.
started happening in it. That got them more curious and it just goes down deeper that they decide to act out at one point. Like every level they go deeper and it does wind up with a child and there is that violence in it that they decide to try it. And if that is not enough for people to see like what people are seeing, what these girls are seeing and are normalized and is being just shoved at them, that this is how you're supposed to be treated, this is what love is supposed to look like you can see the entire cycle as it goes around and it's a constant battle. It's a constant battle.
I ask our predators when we catch them, what got them off of a healthy woman all the way down to a little child, a little girl or boy, and almost every time they admit it's porn. And they started watching one thing, and then they started watching something more and more weird until they ended up a monster. So porn is a gateway drug, if you will, that leads to destruction. It really
Well,
does.
it's like with anything else, right? Like I went to Hawaii my senior trip, right, years ago. And I remember I met a local and I said, "Man, you just must love it here. This must be the best place ever. I can't imagine how lucky you must feel." And the person looked at me and said, "Yeah, it's a great place to live. But guess what? It's like eating filet mignon every day. You'd get really sick of eating it every day because that's the only thing you have available to you. They call it rock fever, right? If you are unable to afford to leave, you are stuck there. So, what happens then when, let's just say, the internet starts in Hawaii? What can we watch? What can we see? Because we've been kept to such a small little ball of information, right? So, what's happened is, you know, porn became available on your 12-year-old's phone. And before you caught it, guess what? Your kid wasn't eating chicken nuggets anymore. Your kid was on to filet mignon, this, that, pate, things that you would never serve your kid, right? Things because the brain continues to want to find something different because we get desensitized to what we're used to, right? So that's where I think the big problem with where the violent porn, instead of it becoming less as we started to notify people of, okay, look, here's what's happening in pornography, it's available on your phone, be careful, be careful. You would think that the violent porn would actually come down. Guess what? Up, because there's more consumers and there's obviously a market for it, which I don't even know where we begin to fix that other than at birth, right? Having a parent that starts drilling into their kid's head, this isn't the way this is going to go, right? I mean, because that's a huge issue. Everybody's got a phone,
Yeah.
but we Elizabeth signed a petition. I did not. I didn't realize it was going around, but Pornhub is no longer available in Arizona on a phone or anything else unless you upload an ID. You now have to put in an ID showing that you're 18, if you or 21, I think, to consume this filth. Thank God. I think that's a huge step, right? Let's take this crap out of our kids' brains so that they're not growing up with rape culture in their head. Because the songs they listen to are down with rape, right? Or calling people out of their names that is somehow ex- it's accepted within cultures.
I'm
That's
not gonna lie, I love me some Clint Eastwood, but some Gran Torino is filled with the most, I think, racial slurs I have ever heard in my life. But I
oh
do
yeah.
love the movie. Like
I
in
love
the
that
end, yeah, how
movie.
he took regardless of what their race was, it didn't matter, and he changed it. But some racial slurs, like listening to them, I was all, oh my gosh, like
Yeah, I
what?
went on a Clint Eastwood kick because I love Gran Torino. It's such a beautiful movie, and I just cry like a baby every time I watch it. And so I was like, oh, let me, check out some of his other stuff. And just watching some of the older movies, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And it's good that we've moved past to the point where, stuff like that is unacceptable now. Um, and, people lose their jobs over it, which is great because nobody should be able to say, such a horrible racial thing to their coworker and just be like, oh, this is fine. That's how we stop the normalization of things. And it shocks me how we haven't been able to do that with the rape culture and with the protecting the children, because why can't we do both? Both are super important. So why is it only, one thing, but we can't say, oh, you are sexually harassing your coworker, you're fired. It's like, oh, okay, let's do another training then, I guess, or, you know blah blah blah. It's just, it's so bad. And we need to start making the shift on that side of things as well.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think it's about power. The reason we can make progress on some things and not on others, just like Instagram, for example, they disabled a long list of hashtags that had to do with child safety, child protection. Those hashtags aren't usable. You can't find other people that care about protecting children because Instagram doesn't want that promoted. But they keep getting exposed for promoting child predators, those who harm children. So you look at the people that own big tech companies, the people that own media, big news channels and networks. You see, they all subscribe to the same things, and they're some dark souls, man. And they're on an agenda. They want to normalize these things because that's where they get their power. And it's disappointing to learn, and we've had to research and investigate, and we've learned a lot that we never wanted to know. But you have to know. I say if you want things to be good, you have to dare to address why they're not. For whatever reason, if things are not good, you have to face whatever is the cause of them not being good. So, a lot of people don't want to address child trafficking because it's an ugly topic, but yet it's at industrial scale, so it won't do to cower and turn away. So, that's for child rescue. We face it and have to learn about it so that we can make it better for the children. And
And
so
this
it's,
isn't just about, oh, sorry,
yeah,
cut
no,
out
but
for a second.
yeah, no,
That
no,
was
I
my
was
fault.
done.
I was going to say, this isn't just about the people that are actually doing the physical act either. Because we have online, so many of these acts are happening and people are paying ridiculous amounts of money to watch it. Like,
Mm.
I would really, really love to see, let's go back to the way porn used to be. You can only go get it in a video store. Like, let's just make it illegal online. You get caught with CSAM, porn, anything, any inappropriate stuff. I think that you should be held to a standard, and let's just make it illegal to be online altogether. And that will make it harder for how much money would that take away from all these people that are purchasing the harm that are happening to these children? Let's start there.
there's a limit to anything, and I think when limits get exceeded, bad things happen. There's a balance, and I think we've just seen the pendulum swing really far to one extreme on the sexual perversion topic, and we can witness the results of that. Like, what, do what thou wilt. That's the satanic Bible, tagline. Do whatever you want. Well, you can map out and witness and measure where that leads to a utter destruction of societies. And so I fault us for not recognizing that and finding a way to hit the brakes and go, oh, that road leads to destruction. Let's figure out a healthier way that leads to better things. Be joyful, be happy, enjoy your life, be healthy. Why do you end up in animal sex and beating people half to death and choking people and slicing people? And what does all this dark and filthy stuff come from? It comes from a little bit of perversion leads to more and more. The next thing you know, you're in a really dark place and you're watching snuff flicks, and it's just like, what? So it's insidious. It's creepy. It's sneaky. It sneaks up on these people, and next thing they know, they're standing there getting handcuffed, and they got our little daughter in front of them. She's watching them turn from a predator into a prisoner, with a room full of SWAT team around them. Go ahead, Aspen.
Desensitization is very real, because that's just like with anything. Like, I feel like, speaking about just in general, when you go through a lot of hard stuff, the more you go through it, you're not as affected by it. They always say, for example, oh, your first heartbreak is the worst one, and then it gets easier, and then just on such a general scale, like, once you progress through something, it affects you less and less in your brain. So when you are consuming all of this harmful material, you just get desensitized. And I have friends who are like super into horror movies and grew up on the internet watching super horrible videos on the dark web, and they're just so desensitized that when they like see like something super horrible or gory or something, like, they just don't, that receptor doesn't go off in their brain anymore. They're like, oh, okay, this is fine. And even me growing up on the internet, and back in the era of where they would just put Taliban beheading videos on YouTube and like stuff like
I
that.
didn't know you were watching that.
Well, it wasn't like it was just there, and that's the thing about the internet. Like, I'll be scrolling, and things are just there, and I try to spend less time on Twitter because there's some really graphic stuff that's allowed to be put on there.
Yeah.
And I'll just be scrolling, and it's like, oh, here's this video of someone on fire, and it's like, okay. And then, the more you see that, the more desensitized you get to it, and it's like horrible, because now it's like, with all the footage of like shootings and war and all of this stuff that you see on a daily basis. Sorry, New York sirens.
No, but it's perfect timing.
I
Yeah.
know, right?
You're
Yeah.
talking about all
And
that.
you literally, like, it gets to the point where I see these graphic videos of this horrible stuff, and it's like, it doesn't even traumatize me anymore, and that's like so bad. So I see it for myself, and it's like, imagine these people who are so indoctrinated in whether it's violent porn or whatever it is. They literally in their brains start to think of it as not a big deal, because that's what happens in your brain. It's a defense mechanism. It's a survival mechanism for somebody who's like in war or whatever, and who has to start to be able to deal with things in order to survive. It literally is the same thing with anything that you were consuming on a super, and like you said about the Hawaii thing, like, even that, someone who is so used to something, it starts to become not a big deal anymore. And so that's just the way that the human brain operates, and we can't do anything to change our human brain. So I think it's super important that this guy that I was seeing for a little bit was doing men's coaching and talking about how bad the effects of porn are on men's brains, and how detrimental it is to their relationships with women, and how you really should start to not consume that, because it's going to affect you whether you realize it or not. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely just want to urge everybody watching this to just start, scaling back on anything that you might be consuming that's going to harm your brain, and make sure that your children are not having access to, I mean, it's hard because if you have a cell phone, like, you can just do whatever. So I don't know what the steps are for that, but it's important to at least have that conversation with your child so they understand what's going to happen if they start to go into that rabbit hole before it's too late.
One angle for me is fascinating is the energy aspect of it. Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And it's interesting that the physics line up with the spiritual aspect of it exactly. So they're measuring the different emotional states in the laboratory, and they're realizing all the most beneficial emotional states are very high vibrational emotions: love, gratitude, and all that sort of thing. And at the bottom, the lower frequency, is all the hatred and the fear and that bitterness and jealousy and all that. So if you spend your time in a high vibrational state and love and gratitude, and you're working on yourself, and your friends and your family are doing positive and good things, then you look at a violent, dark movie and you feel repulsed by it. It's like magnets repel each other. And it's like you don't want to be around that. You don't want to hear music that's violent and like ugly, and you see abuse, and it's repulsive to you. It's interesting to me to see how people can get conditioned. When you watch horror films for a while, then it seems like it's kind of okay. But if you haven't watched them a long time, you look at, you're like, oh, that's not good. Stay away. There's bad juju there. So there, a lot of things are that way. And for me, to depend on what lens you want to see it through, the truth is the truth. Beneficial things lead to more, and bad things lead to more. So it's just fascinating to me to see the difference between the physics and the spiritual and the moral outlook that all align with the same things.
I bet if we pulled all of these young male shooters, I'm talking back to Columbine, right? We'll find that they had violent video games. Little boys didn't used to just shoot up schools, guys.
Right.
Where do you think they learned that? And I was guilty. I was buying my kid those games. Thank God he's sane, and he knew that a life is a life, and you can't be resurrected. You don't get 5 lives, right? You go shoot your teacher. Oh, they have 5 more. They have 4 more lives yet. I mean, this was, early 2000. So 2008, 9 was around when all that came out. The gaming platforms came out. Well, his father was a sniper. Why wouldn't I buy him games where he can learn to shoot? Because he's learning to shoot with his dad. Like, these are cool war games. Until sometimes I started to watch what he was playing, and I thought, my gosh, these are so graphic. And then all the shootings. None of it. Come on, we all know it goes together. There's a desensitization. I said it wrong. They're desensitized. It's a video game to them. They're going to go to school and kill everybody like they saw on the movie or on the game. If I had little boys again, because little girls don't care to watch that stuff. I mean, at least Aspen, she wanted to play My Little Pony video stuff. It was the boys that want to watch that tough stuff, which those are the ones who want to play rough outside. I get it. But I think we've made a big mistake as society, giving our little boys tools to teach them how to go out and slaughter people.
I agree. And there's carjacking videos where I expect there's rape involved because they've
Yes.
gone so far, and there's just blood splattering and just the gore and the violence. Even as a hardened combat veteran, I was watching some of these and going, that's not good, my boy. Like that's not normal. That's programming.
So
So
I'm gonna throw in here. I'm a little bit different than all of you. Not gonna lie. I love horror movies. Like love. I don't let my kids do it until I know that they have a firm understanding in who Jesus Christ is, who faith is, what it is. And unless you're in high school and I think that you are, that I know, that I can observe that you are ready and you are grounded, nah, you ain't watching it. But I do love them. I do watch them. Um, as well as I'm not I do we do war games, like we do have them. Games I don't own, Grand Theft Auto, things like that. If I find that I can't, number one, shut off the cussing, or you can go into brothels and do crazy, just despicable things. No, I'm not gonna own that stuff. But I will say, like, I do own war games, and the difference, I would call parents to action. If you are gonna let your kids have a conversation, they should know, like, this is the price of freedom. This is what that actually looks like. Like, yes, I'm gonna desensitize you to that because somebody's blood paid for you to go to school, paid for you to be able to speak up, paid for you to have a phone and be able to walk out on the street. Somebody's blood paid for that, and you will respect that, and this is what that looks like. But on the other end, it's that doesn't make the rest of this okay. This is what this looks like healthy. And really, I think a lot of it also has to go with, if we went back to all those shooters, where's the accountability with parents? Not only are our children being desensitized, when your child does screw up, or your child does do something, instead of defending them, why is there not love and accountability?
Yeah.
Like, where is that? Oh, you ditched class today because you were having a rough day. Nah, you don't get to ditch class because you're having a rough day. What do you think is going to happen when you have a family and you have children and you have people that need to eat, that require you to do what you need to do to be the man or the woman that you're supposed to be? It doesn't matter how you feel. You get up because you have to. You get up because what drives you. And if you don't have something drive you, you need a serious come to Jesus walk. That's what my kids call my walks. When I'm like, they're like, "Are you gonna go have a come to Jesus walk, Mom?" And I'm all, "Yes, yes, I am." Like, they need that serious, like, come to Jesus walk.
Yeah, with the parents thing, like when I was a kid, I was like 6 years old, and there was these twin boys who were our neighbors. And one time we went to go have a play date with them, and we came home bloody with knocked out teeth, like horrible. And they were like a couple years older than us, and they just beat the crap out of us for no reason. And when my parents had a little call with their parents, you know what their mom said? Oh, boys will be boys. How much you want to bet those dudes are probably around sexually assaulting women and, hitting women and stuff like that, and probably didn't go very far in life, probably in and out of jail. It's just so much, especially as the mom, like, really, you're gonna say that it's okay, and allow your child's developing brains to think that it's okay to just beat up girls for no reason and that it's completely fine. Like, that is insane. And then there's a guy that I dated a few years ago who was just evil, and I had to get a restraining order against him because it was very, very scary. And I contacted his mom and I said, "Hey, the cops are looking for him. They need to serve him this restraining order." Because for those of you who don't know, a restraining order does not go into effect until it is served to the person. So if they can't find the person, it's very scary. Imagine, you know how there's a spider in your room, and then all of a sudden you don't know where the spider went, right? It's like that, and
and you're
and so
eating a
there's
sandwich.
yeah, there's this moment of like, oh gosh, he knows where I live. He's broken in my apartment before. I'm very terrified he's going to kill me. I need this restraining order served so that way I can have, you know, this paperwork that will allow him to be arrested. Um, and I contacted his mom and I said, I just need to know where he is so they can serve it. And she would not give me his location. And I told her, you do realize that you were actively putting me in harm's way, right? That, they're not going to arrest him right now. They're not going to do anything to your son. This is literally just a piece of paper for me to have protection. There is no reason why you shouldn't allow me to have this. Like, what is wrong with you as a woman? And I sent her this whole text. She had a young daughter, and I was like, I hope to God your young daughter never ends up with a POS like your son, because knowing you, you're going to allow him to abuse her. Shame on you. You know, start taking hot baths because you got to start preparing to go down to the bad place where it's very hot. Um, so it's just so bad. Like I cannot understand how as a parent, especially as a woman, knowing the culture and knowing how bad the abuse is, to allow, and that's what's happening. And that's why it's so important, because there are moms out here who are literally training their sons to grow up to abuse women. Um, so, we have to just take a stand. If a kid is playing with your son at your house on a play date and he says something, it absolutely is your job. I know you might not be that kid's parent, but as a parent who's having kids come to your house, or as a teacher who is overhearing stuff like that, it is your responsibility to speak up and say something, because their parent might not be doing their job with that, and you could potentially save someone's life literally by saying, hey, this isn't okay because of this reason.
Yeah, planting seeds. You can lead in a lot of different ways and inspire people to do better.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And even
I
being
know
a
my
parent
parents
that
have done
doesn't
that to
know.
some of my friends growing up, and some of my friends' parents have, shared some things with me that I respected. So learn from all directions. Lisbeth?
And like Aspen just said, if you see something, say something, because there are parents that don't know. Like in my case, like I had so many people tell me, like, I would have never guessed your kids act so normal. Like I would have never known anything was wrong. Like literally, they were arguing with each other. I had a 4-year-old that was doing bedwetting at night. Like not things that I would have just thought. Like we're in a house with 6 kids. Like I expect it to be chaotic and there to be those bumps. That like there was never just one thing that I could have been like, this is happening. This, like, what if somebody else, if when they weren't around me and they didn't think they had to act a certain way because of what was going on, if somebody would have said something and called the police, what difference would that have made?
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
Hindsight's always 2020, but yeah, I mean, if you see an opportunity to do good, I guess that's what we're arriving at is, you know, what are the opportunities for us each to make the world a little bit better place, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's a perfect like closing. Like, yeah, I think that for me, um, to sum everything up for today's talk, I think that it's super important that you speak out about the things that are happening as a parent, as a teacher, as a friend, as a girlfriend. I know plenty of women allow their boyfriends to treat them poorly, um, because they tell themselves it's okay, and then he goes and continues to do that. You have to speak out, not only for yourself but for everybody else around you, and it's important to start changing that cultural stance of it's okay to harm.
Hey, you know what? Judith Reisman's legacy lives on through people like us. May her memory be a blessing. She
Love her.
fought this until she died, and the 4 of us and whoever we spread it to will continue to carry that on. I couldn't be more proud to be able to say that we're going to do that for her.
You know,
Look her up.
I'm glad that I thought to tell her. She seems so healthy and happy. I didn't think it would be anytime soon, but I did tell her, I said, Judith, your fight will not die with you. Help
No.
has come now, and we're picking up the ball, and we're bringing more. This is only going to grow. So be encouraged. And she loved that. So I'm just glad that she saw help coming, that she wasn't standing fighting alone. So it's an honor, and I hope we do. I hope we make such a big impact that she's just pleased from it, you know, because she was a true champion for children. She was a hero who stood up and fought hard by herself, and she was demonized for it. She was slandered and smeared and attacked like anybody that stands up to do good in this world against. It's like all the biggest powers that be are okay with the child harm, and if you stand up against it, you're going to kind of be going against the current. But you have to be full of love enough to do it anyway, and that's what she was. So that's why we respect her and love her so much here, because she kind of paved the way for others to stand up and fight for the children. So bless her and her memory.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. It's watching the fire that she lit spread is really, really beautiful. And I would call each adult, like not just parents, anybody in charge of a child, anybody that teaches, anybody that's around them, that coaches, that anything, be the difference. Like the difference can just be see something. If a kid is off by themselves, go talk to them. There's something wrong. That's how it happened in mine. My child was off by themselves and somebody went and was like, what's going on? And because she was young enough and she didn't know what to say, and what she said was enough for that person to do something, which is what like inspired us to do something. Like it's a fire. It's just, you got to find that light and then just run with it and just let it burn. And that's how you create change. You want to
Yep.
see like really beautiful. They do controlled burns for a reason. Light the fire, do the controlled burn.
That's right. I like it.
Love that. Yes, thank you guys. Super important conversation. So, yes,
All
thank
right.
you guys
Thanks
for
everybody for
joining.
joining us.
Thank you. Glad you watched.